by paying them on time. Amen to that. Of course, we agree. But it wasn't just the AFGE. You had the same commentary, the same plea by the National Association of Air Traffic Controllers, the Coalition of Airline Pilots Associations, the NetJets Association of Shared Aircraft Pilots, the Allied Pilots Association, the Southwest Airlines Pilots Association, the leader of the Teamsters, and the New York Steamfitters Union. They're all coming out. These are the constituencies that the Democrats claim that they support, and that's why the unions came on side of the Republicans in the last election. They've had enough of this nonsense. And they've all called on Senate Democrats to end this shameful shutdown. And it is a shame. The Democrats need to be publicly prodded by their millions of hardworking Americans to just simply do the most basic function of their jobs. A rational person would read the pleas of the federal workers and conclude that it is time to end the charade and turn the lights back on. But the Democrats are not rational right now, and they've deliberately ignored the plight of all these federal workers around the country. People are going to remember this, and they should. I want to quote to you a couple of senators over there on the Democrat side. Listen to this nonsense. Senator Mark Warner, the senior senator from Virginia, and this is noteworthy because Virginia is the state with the largest number of federal employees. He claims that federal workers want him to vote against reopening the government. He literally said, quote, "I think they want us to fight this." Fight what, Mark? What are you talking about? We have a clean CR. This is not a partisan dispute. It's ridiculous. Senator Tim Kaine is the junior senator from the same state of Virginia with the largest number of federal employees, and he said, quote, "I work very closely with them, and the AFGE would not want us to cut a deal." What the heck are you talking about, Senator? There is no deal here. We're not talking about a deal. We're talking about a clean CR that all of you voted for even as recently as this year. And here's my favorite one. This is the best quote. When asked about the AFGE statement from the big union, Senator Jeanine Shaheen said, quote, "I had a conversation with the president of AFGE earlier, right after the shutdown, and that was their position then." So let me just translate for you. Senator Shaheen spoke with the head of the largest federal employee labor union. The president of that union explained to her the harmful effects of a shutdown, and then Senator Shaheen went out and voted to close the government anyway, and continued to do that more than a dozen additional times. Senate Democrats knew the pain this would cause. They knew about the missed paychecks. They knew the uncertainty of making rent for so many people. They knew about the missed meals. They knew about delayed flights. They knew that our nuclear arsenal and our national defense would be negatively affected by this, and they did not care. They shut the government down anyway to appease the far left voices of their base. And the Democrats have some soul searching to do. Are they going to continue to do that? Are they going to run from the far left and do their bidding? Or are they going to do right by millions of federal workers and the American people who continue to show up to work daily without pay? Are they going to do right and reopen the government so that those people are taken care of instead of the Marxist far left base in their party? That is the question. And we pray that Senate Democrats come to their senses before the situation becomes too dire. On Saturday, this gets very real. SNAP benefits will stop flowing to all those who need it. You're talking about tens of millions of Americans at risk of going hungry if the Senate Democrats can continue this gambit. Instead of taking a simple vote to fund the government, which Senate Democrats have now had more than a dozen opportunities to do, Democrat attorneys general are suing the federal government to try to compel SNAP benefits to flow despite the government being closed and despite the fact that there is no money to do that. Congress hasn't authorized that. The contingency fund for that was something they batted down when the Democrats decided to vote against the CR and shut the government. For Democrats, there's a much easier option on the table. Just go do your job and fully fund all these programs and all these categories of people by voting for the CR. That's it. You don't have to do anything for Republicans. Just do your job for your constituents. Until Democrats recognize the pain that's gone on for so long, Republicans will be in their districts helping their constituents clean up the mess that Democrats are making and help them make ends meet and help them find the assistance, the food assistance, and all these other things that they're going to have to rely upon. And joining us this morning to discuss the Democrats' shutdown impacts on our national defense and on foreign affairs is our great chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and a decorated veteran of the U.S. Army, our good friend, Chairman Brian Mast. Brian?
Thank you, Speaker. I think everything going on, it really puts an exclamation point on the fact that we have the greatest population anywhere across the globe. I do want to start just by saying thank you to all of our workers. We have workers whose lives are being very literally affected, and they're still coming to work every day. Those are really big, amazing people. That's our American workforce. So I just want to start by saying thank you to them. All of our TSA workers, all of our air traffic controllers, our ICE, our CBP, our State Department people that I deal with, and to put a point, maybe moving to State Department, because that's what I deal with the most, about the very serious stakes of what is going on right now. Not just with people's lives and them not being able to pay their bills, but with what's going on across the globe. To juxtapose these positions, we have President Trump in Asia right now, very literally trying to make sure that the United States of America is not cut off from rare earth minerals or other things, which is what China is literally trying to do. That's why there was a threat of another 100% tariff, because China was sending around letters saying, all you neighboring countries don't sell to America. So the president is abroad trying to protect our homeland. And we have Democrats here at home doing everything that they can to weaken our homeland. That's a difference of values. And the stakes of those values is the future of the greatest country on the face of this earth. We should pray that our adversaries would be stupid enough to say they're going to prioritize funding feminism in Africa over the food stamps of their own people. They're not that stupid, but apparently Hakeem Jeffries is, and that's a real problem for all of us here. I was on the phone with an ambassador this morning. I'm not going to say where, but we have requests for people to leave embassies abroad because of very real threats that are going on. The people in that embassy are right now trying to figure out if they have cash funding to get fuel for vehicles or to have diesel to put in their generators because they don't have reliable electricity in the places that they're in. Those are the real world consequences. While they're also worrying about their paycheck isn't coming in, can their family back home buy groceries, pay their bill for student loans, pay for the fuel to get their kids to school, or the tuition at their children's school, or all the other things that they have to worry about while they're worrying about can they even get out of country. So those are the difference of values. I guess I would close it by saying this. We need 5 Democrat senators to pull their heads out of their asses and go work for the United States of America.
Thank you, Chairman Mast. Thank you for your service to our country and for keeping the focus where it needs to be on making sure America stays strong in the midst of turbulent times. And, you know, what's so sad about this shutdown is that we don't need to be in these turbulent times. It was a self-imposed wound that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer have imposed on the country. And if you look over this last month of the shutdown, you've seen Democrats literally playing a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde game with the American people. On one hand, they'll try to say, it's not us, it's the Republicans. Gee whiz, as the speaker talked about, oh, they control the House, Senate, and White House when they know that they are the ones that are shutting the government down. And then on the other hand, Mr. Jekyll's side, they're saying that they know that they're causing pain on the American people. They admit that there is suffering, but they're doing it for leverage. So you can't have it both ways, Chuck Schumer. You can't wake up one day and say you're going to try to blame it on the Republicans, and then on the next day, you're trying to say that, gee whiz, we know that we're causing these problems. They're admitting they're causing suffering on people, but they're doing it for leverage. And they can't even explain what that leverage is, because they just need to show their radical base that they're having a fight with Donald Trump. It's all it's been about from the beginning. You really want to know who's calling the shots in the Democrat Party? You saw it on the stage this past weekend. Bernie and AOC on the stage with the new leader of the Democrat Party, Mondami. Maybe Chuck Schumer's waiting for Mondami to let him know when he can open the government back up again. But families can't wait because the real suffering is going to begin. It's already been happening, but it really hits home this weekend when SNAP benefits run out, and they know that. But I'm going to go through some of the lies, the myths, the things that they say when they know better. Chuck Schumer just yesterday said, quote, Republicans are in charge of the White House, the Senate, and the House, but they're refusing to do their job. Now, Chuck Schumer's been in Congress since the 1980s. And he knows that every day he's been there, there's been a requirement that you need not 51, not a majority like we need in the House. He was in the House where you did need a majority, and then he went over to the Senate where it's always been a requirement that you need a supermajority. And in fact, when they changed the rules, it's not a standard or a custom, it's an actual Senate rule that you need 60 votes. The rule used to be higher. And in 1975, many of you might have thought Chuck Schumer voted for that rule. He came in just a few years after. In 1975 is when they lowered the threshold to 60 votes. It used to actually be a higher standard in the rules. And so every day Chuck Schumer's been in Congress, it always took more than a simple majority, in fact, 60 votes to pass these kinds of bills through the Senate. And he knows that. So you'd ask him, why is he trying to lie and mislead the American people? When he makes a statement like that, he knows he's trying to mislead the American people. And yet on other days, he does admit he knows he's causing suffering, but he's doing it for leverage. And so this game back and forth is what the American people are sick and tired of. Hakeem Jeffries, quote, we didn't view the current bill as anything other than a partisan Republican spending bill. He knows good and well that it was a clean CR. If Democrats still to this day don't know the difference between a clean CR and partisan bills, did they stop reading the bills? Because they used to vote for these bills just since 2017. Go look at the facts. Speaker likes talking about the facts. Facts are important here. Since 2017, 30 different CRs, 30 times CRs have moved to keep the government open. And do you know 29 of the previous times Chuck Schumer's voted yes? 29. This 30th time is the only time Chuck Schumer has voted no. And of course you'd say, well, then what's changed if he's voted? 29 out of 29 times before this, he voted for clean CRs. What's changed? This is a clean CR. What's changed is the Democrat Party has changed. Mondami is now running the party. That party has changed. But the American people still have the same needs. The American people, again, the clean CR doesn't solve our differences. We still have big differences that we need to go negotiate. But let's just do it while the lights are on without the American people being held hostage. And of course, the final myth that's been out there for the beginning of this whole shutdown that we've debunked many times, that it's, quote, a total effing lie, that was Chuck Schumer's word, I think he actually used the word itself, that Democrats support free taxpayer-funded health care, free legals. That was Schumer saying that. And then, of course, when you read his alternative bill, his list of hostage demands, the $1.5 trillion spending bill, it includes in it a provision that repeals the verification we put in that says illegals can't get free health care. And CBO, not us, CBO said that would cost $200 billion in taxpayer health care benefits going to illegals. They know that. Of course they know it. And so why would they want to try to mislead the American people by over and over again making those statements? So here you can see it. Time and time again, the SNAP benefits comment the speaker talked about. They were warned in early October that 42 million people could be at risk in just weeks of losing their SNAP benefits if they didn't open the government. They knew that, and they want to play this game of chicken, this Jekyll and Hyde, one day trying to blame everybody but themselves, and then the other day taking ownership and admitting they're causing suffering, but they want to do it for leverage. You can't have it both ways. And more importantly, the American people are feeling the suffering. And this weekend, that suffering gets worse. And we have voted over and over again to prevent the suffering. It's not necessary. It shouldn't happen. And there's a way to avoid it. All they need to do is today, just 5 Senate Democrats need to get courage and say, we're not going to take our orders from Mondami or whoever else it is that are calling the shots over there. We're going to do the right thing and open this government back up so we can get into that negotiation over all of our differences, which are many, but just don't hold the American people hostage while that goes on. That'll bring up our whip. Tom Emmer.
The Democrats have no leader, no vision, no message. And nothing proves it more than the chaos they have caused with their needless government shutdown. We are now 29 days into this mess, and the Democrats have contradicted themselves every turn with no exit strategy in sight. They've tried to make their shutdown fight about health care, while simultaneously demanding that we cut $50 billion in rural health care and give taxpayer-funded health care to illegal aliens. Not to mention the Americans who are suffering right now because critical health care services have been put on pause due to the Democrats' shutdown charade. On the issue of SNAP, Democrats are bending over backward to oppose Trump, using taxpayer dollars to fund frivolous lawsuits. Meanwhile, they are the ones causing people to lose their SNAP benefits by refusing to reopen the government. Remember, all of this could have been solved in a matter of 5 minutes by 5 Senate Democrats if they would do the reasonable and right thing by supporting our clean CR. The same CR that they supported just 6 months ago, and as we've said over and over, that they passed 13 times under the Biden administration. But instead, they'd rather run in circles, tripping over their own feet in the process and hanging their constituents out to dry. Why? In order to attain political leverage and score points with the radical Mamdani and Omar Fata supporting that, by the way, for those of you that don't know, is the Mamdani of the Midwest, Omar Fata, supporting that wing of their party. Take it from the party who essentially wrote the government shutdown playbook. It doesn't work. Shutdowns achieve nothing but hurt everyone. So enough with the political games. Pass our clean CR and let's reopen the government for the people that you were elected to serve.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good to see you again. Let's get one thing straight right out of the gate. House Republicans did our job. Senate Democrats didn't. It's that simple. More than 1 month ago, under the leadership of Speaker Mike Johnson, the House passed responsible legislation to keep our government, your government, open. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats voted again and again to keep it shut down. So before anyone throws around cheap insults like one Democrat member did on social media this week, and I'll just read it. Lazy Mike Johnson has made himself irrelevant and pointless. You know, I always find that funny. When you can't beat us on the issues, what do children do? They personalize it. And that's exactly what this member is doing. He can't beat us on the issues. So he wants to attack our leader, who has done a remarkable job, and personalize it. We're not in 6th grade anymore. But maybe for some people they are in 6th grade. But let's remember the facts. Republicans acted, the Democrats stalled. Mike Johnson has shown leadership, discipline, and focus. And what's lazy, I'll share with you what's lazy, is Democrats refusing to do their job and blaming everyone else for the problems in which they created. Because what Democrats are doing is wrong. And Americans, real Americans, hardworking Americans, are getting hurt. I, for one, have had it. And I don't think I'm the only one out there. On Sunday, a Democrat House member admitted to the Wall Street Journal that his party is being pushed by far-left groups. He said the quiet part out loud, everybody. He said what we've been saying forever. He said Democrats were lying to the American people about the reason behind the shutdown. Well, that's a shock, right? It isn't for health care. It isn't for health care, because if it was about health care, they wouldn't have stripped the $50 billion rural health care fund. I mean, come on, Democrats, get your story straight. At least get a good story that you can spin to the American people, but you can't even keep your story straight. Listen, what the speaker said, Ronald Reagan was right. Trust the American people. And you know what? I'll say it again. When the facts aren't on your side, you have to personalize it and you have to lie. But the question right now is, at what point is the pain of the Americans going to outweigh the radical cries of their base? It wasn't when our troops almost didn't get paid. It wasn't when moms and infants were at risk of losing the food off their table. It wasn't when flights across the nation got canceled because air traffic controllers and TSA agents didn't get paid. No. When that happened, Democrats said, every day gets better for them. Really? Maybe because they're getting paid while the people who they represent are not. That's what they said. They said pain for the American people was their best leverage. They said maybe it was uncomfortable, but it was worth it to them. Really? Think about that. Let that settle in. Let that just sit for a minute. So now I ask, will it be enough pain this weekend when 42 million Americans lose access to food on their table? Will it be enough when 2 million Americans miss a paycheck? What Democrats are doing right now is absolutely cruel, but it's also dangerous. And I think Chairman Mast spoke very well on this issue, but let's build on that. When our skies aren't staffed, when our borders aren't secure, and when our troops are at risk of missing a paycheck, that is not a political strategy. That is a national security threat. Enough is enough. Americans do not want to be used as leverage. And they don't want to be used as leverage for another $1 trillion of wasteful spending. They work way too hard for their paychecks. They want relief, they want leadership, and they want results. Democrats, please, I implore you, do what's right. Democrats, do what's right. End the shutdown. End the suffering for the American people. Stop, as you say, leveraging the pain. Vote for the Clean CR funding bill and let America move forward. Thank you.
All right, questions? Manu, go ahead.
Given how dire the that you expressed for so many Americans right now, how do you justify the administration giving this big, massive bailout to Argentina, as well as calling for an increase in beef imports from Argentina?
Look, we give foreign policy, the execution of foreign policy to the executive branch. That's what the president is doing right now. There's lots of nuances about that. He's involved in negotiating trade agreements around the country to great success and benefit of the American people right now. Dozens of them being worked out. He's overseas right now doing the same thing. And what he accomplished in Japan is a remarkable thing for the American people. And by the way, they've agreed to invest $550 billion into America, and that's good for everyone. So I can't get into the nuances of every single trade agreement with every country around the world, but we're going to trust the president to do what he's doing. He's had a remarkable track record of success for the American people, and nobody in this room can refute it. So I'm going to leave it right there. Chad, let's talk about the government shutdown. It's the main important thing right here. Chad, go ahead.
Can you talk about some of the members in, excuse me, can you talk about some of the members in your conference who have expressed concern about the House being out, or saying that this has gone on, too long, we need to maybe have another CR, or take another approach, or do something on healthcare?
Yeah.
Can you talk about what that is like, and some of the things that you're hearing from your members who are saying, this is really going on?
Well, you all know what I'm hearing from my members because our calls are leaked every week, and we had a conference call with almost everyone yesterday. By our count, there's about 3 to 4 members of the House Republican Conference who have only mildly questioned working in the districts as opposed to being here on the floor. And we talked through that in as much detail as we can on a call that I know is being printed on the front page of all the papers the next morning. But I can tell you that 99% of all the Republicans in the Senate and the House heartily agree with what we are doing. They understand the most important thing and the most important function and the basic and most simple thing that government must do is keep its operation going for the people. That is the first job of Congress. And when we can't do that, everything is paralyzed. And so we have made that the #1 emphasis. We need the Senate Democrats to do what they have always done in the past. Don't make me tell you all the facts again. 13 times during the Biden administration alone, they voted on CRs to keep the government going. They know the pain they're inflicting. They do not care because they're more afraid of the radical left Marxists in the base than they are the American people. That's plain and simple. And so it's painful for them, for us to get up here every single day and relate again the simple truths. We have to do that. The repetition is what makes the truth saturate, because most of the mainstream media is giving us headwinds. They're pushing back, as I just demonstrated from you from the results. The research proves what we know intuitively, that the mainstream media, most of the legacy media, is parroting the talking points to the other side. You are not asking Chuck Schumer the hard questions. You're not asking Hakeem Jeffries the hard questions. Not enough of them. They're hiding. And they think that they can appease the radical base because they're more afraid of the voices of the far left corner of their party than they are everybody else. And I think there's going to be a big price to pay for that in the future. Yes, sir, right here.
Religion News Service has tracked 5 different instances in the last few weeks. DHS or ICE agents apparently, or the Swedish support, shooting Christian clergy with pepper bullets, pepper rounds, and rubber bullets. There was viral video of a Terry minister being hit in the head with pepper rounds, and just last week a UCC minister was shot directly in the face with a pepper round by a DHS agent that left his face bloody. I know that you've advocated for religious freedom in the past and celebrated the president's decision to pardon anti-abortion demonstrators. Do you share the concern of these clergy? This is a religious freedom issue that's emerging between the administration and clergy.
I can't comment on any of those instances. I haven't seen or heard any of those videos, so I'm not going to comment about it. But I would say, hold on, wait a minute. Let me answer you. Hold on. Thank you. You asked the question. Religious freedom does not extend and give you the right to get in the face of an ICE officer and assault them, if indeed that was what happened there. What I've seen is a measured approach by the people who are trying to enforce our border laws, our immigration laws. And that was desperately needed and desired and demanded by the American people. You might remember the #1 issue in the November election last year was the wide open border and the chaos that has ensued by that. So the people are out doing a very difficult job. ICE officers, by the way, are under tremendous strain and pressure. How would you like to do that job if you had to put on the badge and do it? When you know you have the media criticizing every move, and you have wild protesters in your face, cursing at you, waving their finger in your face, and sometimes pushing you and assaulting you. Okay, it's a dangerous, risky job. Thank the Lord that there are people who are willing to do that difficult job, to put on the badge and show that kind of courage. We should be on the side of law enforcement, and anybody who's trying to disrupt those operations, they need to be handled the right way. Now, look, all of us want the law to be enforced. We are the rule of law party. Chaos is not an American virtue. The rule of law, but you have to have order and you have to have peace and you have to have some people who are brave enough to put on the uniform and go ensure that. So get out of their face and let them do their job. That's what I would say. Down here, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Speaker. We're getting closer to the November 21st deadline for the CR that you guys passed. We're almost 3 weeks away from that. Is it time to bring the House back to pass a new CR with a new date? Is fewer than 3 weeks enough time to finish appropriations?
Wouldn't that be a futile exercise when we have a CR that's been sitting over there since September 19th? If I brought the House back and we passed another CR, it would meet the exact same fate from Chuck Schumer. He would mock it, they would spike it, and they would try to blame it on us. So what would be the point of that? We're all concerned about the timing. The Democrats are eating up the clock. We have very important work to do here, and that's why we're pleading with them, not Chuck Schumer. Look, I think Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are irredeemable at this point. I don't think they'll be able to tell Mondami in New York and his disciples that they voted to open the government. I've given up on the leadership. So we're trying to appeal to a handful of moderates or centrists who care more about the American people and will put the people's interest over their own and do the right thing in the Senate. I mean, there's no point in me sitting down with Chuck Schumer. He's painted himself into a corner. I get all that. Mondami it looks like he's going to win and be the mayor of New York City, and Hakeem Jeffries came out and endorsed him. That's all you need to know. Hakeem Jeffries is terrified that Mondami, one of his disciples, is going to challenge him in his own seat in the election next fall. You've already seen that rumored. Some of you have reported on it. So he had to do it. He had to endorse socialism. He had to endorse Marxism. This dangerous ideology that has taken over the Democrat Party, that is what is motivating them. So it doesn't matter what we do in the House. It doesn't matter what we pass. We have to get a handful of moderates over there who care about America to do the right thing. We need at least 7 Democrats. It takes 60 votes in the Senate to pass it. This is not the Republicans. This fault is squarely on the shoulders of the Democrats, and they are the ones causing you the pain, and don't ever let them forget it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's listen to the Democrats. What did the Democrats say today? Woo! Wow.
Okay, thank you. And we expect both Senator Warren, who is going to lead this off, but she's a little delayed, and Senator Booker in a little while. But thank you all for being here today. Many of you are. We thank the healthcare providers for joining us. It's so important because these folks know better than anybody else about what skyrocketing health care costs mean to millions of Americans. Let's put it succinctly. Because of these vicious, drastic cutbacks, millions will lose their health care altogether. Tens of millions will pay thousands and tens of thousands more for health care. And 51,000 people will die in the next year because they won't have health care. Donald Trump and his Republicans, who want to use this money, use the money from health care, which Americans have always prized and treasured, to pay for tax cuts for billionaires. That's why they're so adamant. The billionaires have a stranglehold over the Trump administration and over the Republicans in the Senate and the House. These are not just numbers on a chart. I don't know if we have, no, we don't have a chart here. But these are not just numbers on any chart. They're real. This Friday, as window shopping occurs, window shopping starts today, tens of millions of American families are going to gather around the kitchen table and say, what are we going to do? We can't afford an extra $10,000 or $20,000 a year. But we can't go without health care. What if our kid or our partner gets sick and there's no doctor? Or what if we have to cut back so badly on our health care that we have to go to a doctor 100 miles away or a hospital 200 miles away? What are we going to do? This is not just an ordinary conversation people will have. This is just frightening, devastating. It's like you'll walk around with, if people who experience this will walk around with a hole in the pit of their stomachs and say, what are we going to do? And today, we're only 3 days from open enrollment, as you know. Window shopping starts today. People are, for the first time, logging in to see what they're going to pay. And it's going to be devastating. Let me just give you a few little examples. We have them for every... Monica, we have numbers for everybody on the states?
We've got 31 states today.
Okay, we'll get you that information. In Florida, a 55-year-old couple making $80,000 a year could be looking at a nearly $4,000 a month health care bill, a $50,000 increase. You're making $80,000 a year. It doesn't mean you're poor. But how are you going to pay $50,000? It's half their salary. I've been hearing from New Yorkers from one end of my state to the other. We obviously have a big urban population with many poor people. We have a large rural population. We have the third largest rural population in America. But from one end of the state to the other, we're hearing how frightened people are, how angry people are, how devastated people are about what is happening. In upstate New York, the average family who used to pay $280 a month is now about to pay $1,700 a month. That's a 500% hike. Corey walked in, but I was going to steal his thunder, but he'll talk about it. Healthcare costs in Jersey are up 175%. And this is true in red states and blue states. In fact, it's even worse in red states because they've been so negligent and so cheap about providing Medicaid to people. And let me just say this. America was regarded as almost a third world country when it came to health care in the 1960s because we didn't have Medicare or Medicaid or ACA. And through a lot of hard work and a lot of public pressure, we achieved Medicare and Medicaid, and then we had ACA. But from the very beginning, the Republican Party has tried to tear all of this down. Most recently, in 2017, when I worked with John McCain, and he did his thumbs down, and their desire to repeal ACA failed by a vote. But they're still at it. And that's what they did in their big, ugly betrayal bill. So the costs are outrageous. Americans are going to be finding this out starting today and over again on Saturday. And Republicans are trying the same failed play that they tried before. Get rid of health care for American people. You're on your own. If you can't afford health care, it's your fault. That's the Republican attitude. It's just horrible. And the American people hate it. 55% of Trump voters want the ACA tax credits extended. 55% of Trump voters, about 90% of all Americans. So what's Trump doing? He's busy building his ballroom, dancing in Malaysia, sending $40 billion to Argentina, $300 million for his ballroom, $170 million in luxury jets for Kristi Noem. They have money for that and not for health care? It's a disgrace. And the American people know it. We're here. We're not like the House Republicans who went away on a long vacation. House Republicans are being paid and not working, and federal workers are working and not being paid. It's a disgrace. But we're here. We're ready. Hakeem Jeffries and I are willing to sit down and negotiate a way out of this crisis with the Republican leadership. And the Republicans just keep saying later. To quote Martin Luther King Jr. in his letter in the Birmingham jail, when the Republicans say later, they mean never. And that's why we are pushing now to get this done. Republicans, Speaker Johnson, Trump, you got to get serious. They're not serious, but we're going to keep holding their feet to the fire because the American people are who we care about. The American people are who we're doing this for. That couple that I mentioned sitting at a table on a Friday night who have a hole in the pit of their stomach because they think they're going to lose all their health care. That's who we're fighting for. And we're not going to rest until we succeed. Senator Booker.
Thank you so much, Chuck. So here we are on day 29 of a government shutdown. 10 months in office, Donald Trump in this short period of time his family wealth has increased by the billions. And we're seeing Americans face unprecedented challenges economically. It just underlines the fact that Donald Trump's administration in these 10 months is really marked by chaos, corruption, and cruelty. The cruelty we're seeing in painful ways. Their big, beautiful bill, so-called, has already taken a battle axe and cut almost $1 billion out of feeding programs for Americans. These are working families who already, because of the skyrocketing costs of rent or their mortgage or energy costs, are already dependent upon programs that are being cut by this administration. It is cruelty that now is being compounded by what we're seeing with the end of the ACA subsidies, as people are seeing what that means. In my state, New Jerseyans are going to pay over 170% more for their health care. I've talked to families up and down my state, and their stories are painful, if not agonizing, because you hear parents, I talked to a family with a special needs child, having to make the most difficult decision. We cannot afford health care for everyone in the family, so now we're trying to figure out which one of the two of us, the parents, should go without health coverage, or perhaps both of us. There is fear in my state of not knowing how you make tough choices, go deeper into credit card debt to cover healthcare costs, make a decision about whether to buy your prescription drugs that you need as the parent and still try to get food on the table. Americans are seeing the sticker shock of healthcare that is skyrocketing because the Republicans refuse to do anything about the problem. There are painful days ahead for Americans who are already enduring the leadership of this administration that is kneecapping American farmers, hurting American companies, causing so much pain for American workers. As people's energy costs go up, grocery costs go up, and now their health care costs skyrocket. This is an administration that is about corruption, chaos, and cruelty. They should come to the table and negotiate with us. Donald Trump promised to bring people's prices down. He's done the exact opposite. He should come to the table and negotiate with us to help people through this healthcare nightmare that right now will only get worse because the big, beautiful bill is also gutting close to $1 trillion out of Medicaid. This will be the worst healthcare disaster our nation has ever seen, with more people poised to lose health insurance than at any other time. This is a uniquely American problem. The number one reason people go bankrupt in America is still their healthcare costs. This does not happen in Canada, does not happen in England, does not happen in France, does not happen in New Zealand. This is an American problem of the Republicans making, and we're demanding that they do something about the pain and the hurt that American families are experiencing and the fear as they look at their health care costs going up in my state well over 100%. These are working Americans who expect more from their leadership, and I, for one, will continue to stand with the people of my state who are demanding help at a time that so many are hurting. I'm excited to bring up my colleague, truly someone who understands that you can't lead the people if you don't love the people, Senator Tina Smith.
Well, good morning. I think it's still morning, everyone. And thank you so much, Senator Booker. And I want to also particularly thank the folks standing behind me who aren't from Washington, D.C., to tell us about what people are really talking about. And you know, I think that for most Americans, healthcare isn't about politics. It's personal. Is your family healthy? Are your children healthy? Can you get in to see the doctors and the providers that you want? Can you afford to get the care that you need? And I think it is also true that most people in this country would agree that our healthcare system is broken. It takes too long to get what you need, it costs too much, and it might not even be there when you need it. And so this summer, when Donald Trump and Republicans passed their so-called one big beautiful bill, what did they do? They made this worse, not better. They kicked millions of people off of their health insurance, and they made everything more expensive just when Americans are struggling to figure out how to afford their lives. And in fact, what they did do is they found trillions of dollars to give huge tax breaks to big corporations and billionaires. But what didn't they do? They couldn't find the money to extend the ACA tax credit so that people can afford their health insurance. Plenty of money to give huge tax breaks for billionaires, but not enough money to help regular people afford their health insurance. And now here we are. We're just a few days away from November 1st, where millions of Americans are going to see their health insurance premiums double or triple. And I can tell you, in Minnesota, this is what people are seeing and feeling. This is what it looks like for people in my home state. I have talked to providers in Minnesota who know they have patients, who need health care for chronic conditions, who are faced with either dropping their health insurance or somehow figuring out how to literally skip going to the grocery store so they can afford their premiums. I've talked to a young woman who works for a nonprofit child care provider, and she is going to drop her health insurance because she can't afford it. She doesn't have health insurance through her work. And what does this mean? It means she's going to postpone starting her own family. We are nearly 30 days into this shutdown, and Republicans and Donald Trump are keeping the federal government shut down rather than working with Democrats to try to figure out how to solve this problem. And I can tell you, Minnesotans are not happy about this. Farmers and ranchers, small businesses who rely on the health insurance exchange to buy their insurance, they are struggling to make a profit right now, and Donald Trump and Republicans are making it worse by raising the cost of their health insurance to levels that they cannot afford. And I can tell you it is particularly rubbing salt in their wounds to see that at the same time Trump is sending $20 billion to Argentina to bail out Argentina and to bail out the wealthy Wall Street fund managers who are going to benefit from this bailout, but he refuses to help people afford their health insurance. So let me just be clear. Republicans are refusing to negotiate with us. They just keep doing the same damn thing over and over again and demand that we vote for their so-called clean CR. But there is nothing clean about a CR that raises health care costs for people so exorbitantly. It's bad for America, it's bad for Minnesota, and I'm not going to help them do it. The best time to fix this was weeks ago, but the next best time is right now. And we can do better than say to America that you have two choices. One choice is skyrocketing health insurance premiums, or the other choice is decimating the nutrition programs that help people put groceries on the table. That is not a real choice. That is not the choice that I will accept. We can do better than that. Now, behind me, we have some incredible folks who can tell you what they're seeing and hearing out in the country. And I'm excited to introduce to you Dr. Fran Patel.
Hi there. My name's Dr. Francesca Haydanek, and I'm an OBGYN working in Western New York. I spend my days and many of my nights taking care of high-risk patients who rely heavily on government assistance to receive care to survive their pregnancies. I'm often told in real life and online, where I educate about obstetrics and gynecology, that I, as a doctor, should not be political. But healthcare is political, and our current government shutdown reflects just how vital a functioning healthcare system is to our country. If healthcare insurance subsidies aren't renewed, families could see their insurance double or even triple next year. And for many of my patients, many who are mothers who already struggle to make ends meet, that means making the choice. Do they pay for health insurance, or do they pay for food and rent? And when my patients have to make that decision, which they already do daily, I see the fallout every single day. My non-pregnant patients are unable to see their primary care physicians prior to their pregnancies, which means they enter pregnancy as a high-risk pregnancy because they couldn't get their diabetes and hypertension controlled prior to becoming pregnant. I see women skipping prenatal visits because they can no longer afford the gas to come to my clinic, and I see mothers delaying care until their third trimester because they've lost their health insurance. I see patients rationing their insulin, skipping blood pressure checks, or showing up in labor with no records, no labs, no care, and no idea how dangerous that their situation could be. Because in my world, those delays are deadly. When a woman can't afford care, preeclampsia goes undiagnosed. I, as an OBGYN, have seen what an eclamptic seizure and subsequent stroke can do to the brain. Gestational diabetes goes unmanaged, and I, as an OBGYN, have to be that person who manages a shoulder dystocia for a 10.5-pound baby whose mother wasn't able to afford her insulin. And a baby who could have been saved isn't there when I put the or on her abdomen. I've had to be the doctor who had to deliver a baby who should have been born alive, but was born still. These are the continued and worsening realities of my future if my patient's hospital, serving a high Medicaid population, and in a small rural hospital. I see how the lack of care in both of these areas affect outcomes for my patients, and it's only going to worsen if healthcare premiums continue to skyrocket and rural hospitals shut down. We're not just fighting for better outcomes for our patients, we're fighting to keep our doors open. When premiums rise and patients lose insurance, our labor units fill with patients who are sicker and who don't have insurance, and that financial strain is unbearable. Once a maternity ward closes, it almost never reopens. So yes, this shutdown is political, and so is healthcare, but the consequences of the lack of healthcare are deeply personal.
Are we hitting the like button out here? We need the like button hit. The like button, the hate button, subscribe button. We need all those things done. Please and thank you. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button.
Every mother deserves to walk into a delivery room without fear of losing everything, her home, her health insurance coverage, or her life, just because she dared to have a baby in America. We need to extend the subsidies that make care affordable. We need to protect maternal health programs to keep our patients alive, because when we fail our mothers, we fail our families. I became an OBGYN to deliver healthy babies. I never imagined I'd have to stand here pleading for my patients' ability to afford the care that keeps them alive. Thank you. Next is going to be Dr. Anita Patel.
Tough act to follow. Good morning. My name is Anita Patel. I am an associate professor of pediatrics, a double board certified pediatrician and pediatric critical care attending, researcher, and most importantly, a mother of two. I have dedicated my life to improving the health of our nation's children through clinical care and pediatric research. I am here today because we are witnessing a healthcare crisis unfold in slow motion, and we have the power to stop it. The numbers defining this crisis are terrifying. $1 trillion in healthcare cuts, 22 million people facing crushing premium hikes, and millions at risk of losing their health insurance, but numbers do not tell the full story. I want to tell you how this crisis will affect the lives and families, specifically the lives and families of the children I treat. Over the past 15 years in pediatrics and pediatric critical care medicine, I have seen firsthand what happens when children lose access to health care. I have intubated teenagers in diabetic comas because they had to ration their insulin that their families could not afford. I have battled uncontrolled seizures in the ICU, which can cause permanent brain damage because parents had to choose between their child's seizure medications and paying their rent. I have held the hand of a mother whose daughter's treatable asthma became a life-threatening crisis that killed her because they couldn't afford albuterol. These stories are both tragic and tragically common. When healthcare costs become unbearable, life-saving EpiPens do not get refilled. A child's sinus infection turns into meningitis, and a ruptured appendicitis leads to septic shock from delayed care. In medicine, we take an oath. First, do no harm. Right now, inaction is causing harm, and the children I have dedicated my life to protecting will bear the consequences. Every day I go to work, I see the absolute best of what our healthcare system can do. I see brilliant doctors and nurses performing miracles. I see children who survive against impossible odds. But I also see the worst consequences of policy choices that force families to choose between medical care for their children and other necessities. I am here to warn you, Congress's inaction is about to unleash an avalanche of suffering on our nation's children. As both a doctor and a mother, I am proud to stand with Senator Warren and these Democratic leaders who are fighting for health care for our nation's families, and most importantly, the future of our nation, our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Scott.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heather Irabunda. I am a OBGYN, and I come to you as a person who provides reproductive health care in a working class community in the Bronx to ask, why are we trying to worsen our healthcare crisis? Unfortunately for my patients, they already face so many challenges to survive. There's a food pantry I pass on my way to work, which I have watched the lines get longer and longer for over the past few years, but over the past few weeks, it's been worse. I already have to try to work on creative ways for my pregnant patients to get insulin, visit a nutritionist, get glucometers, and other medical supplies when they are newly diagnosed with gestational diabetes because there are gaps in coverage by existing health insurance available, and they were unable to get their prior diabetes or pre-diabetic conditions managed before pregnancy. I already have to provide some of my pregnant patients their first meals of the day in my hospital at 3 p.m. when these folks get brought in by ambulance because they passed out on their way to work. On behalf of my patients who rely on Medicaid to receive their care, I ask that we make sure to keep access to affordable health care for them. These are the folks who keep my city, New York City, alive and well. And it's already really, really hard for them to afford health care and food and housing and transportation. A lot of times my patients can't come to their prenatal appointments because they can't afford the $2.90 to take the bus or the train. Let's not make it harder for them. These folks are my neighbors, they're my friends, they're our friends, and they're valued members of our communities. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nikki Sapiro-Vincure. I'm an OBGYN physician assistant, reproductive health content creator, mom of 3, and founder of an organization that helps to improve health literacy within our ever-changing healthcare environment. And these days I wear a lot of hats. All of us are forced to wear so many hats. And when I was preparing these remarks, I thought to myself, what hat do I wear in this moment? Do I want to speak as a clinician, someone who spends their day-to-day talking to other people and listening to the harsh realities of what it looks like? Do I want to speak as a mom after 3 unpaid maternity leaves and struggling to afford childcare with a master's degree? Do I want to speak as a content creator, trying to reach the people who are tired of politics and struggling to figure out how they continue to afford their life when we got into this because of the price of eggs? Or do I speak as a nonprofit founder, trying to rebuild health literacy and helping people survive in this healthcare system that is falling apart? Or do I speak on behalf of all of our clinicians who, let me remind you, have been so burnt out since the COVID crisis 5 years ago, and we still haven't crawled out of the deep depression that most of us clinicians sit in? And the truth is, I can't pick one. I don't have the privilege to wear a single hat at any given time. Because right now in America, every single thing is connected. To want healthcare is to want food, is to want community, is to be a mother, is to be a politician. It's all the exact same. And the truth is, the people who are wearing the most hats are the ones who are holding our country together. Meanwhile, Republicans who wear a single hat can't even come to the table to do their one job. Healthcare is not a bargaining chip. It's not a luxury. It's the foundation of all of our lives. And it's time for every lawmaker to start acting like it. Caring about people shouldn't be radical. It should be part of their job.
We're in the middle of a healthcare emergency, and it is an honor to be here today with clinicians who are on the front lines in dealing with this crisis. It is an honor and it is a responsibility. We are here trying to protect access to healthcare for 15 million Americans. We are here to try to keep our healthcare system at least a little bit affordable for millions more people. And where is Donald Trump and the Republicans? They would rather shut down the government than have to address this healthcare crisis and try to make healthcare more affordable for Americans. Look, I'm not going to defend our current healthcare system. I'm not going to defend a system that makes it so challenging for so many people to get the health care that they need. But this is what I know for damn sure. Donald Trump and the Republicans are not going to make that system any better. They want to withdraw millions of people from having access to health care. And that is not only going to hurt those people and their families directly, it's going to hurt everyone. Because the consequence of this is to shut down community health centers, is to shut down rural hospitals, is to shut down labor and delivery rooms as a way to try to save money in our hospitals. It's to start to bring the entire healthcare system down. And sure, if you're a billionaire, shoot, you can buy your own hospital. You can get as many people to treat you as needed. You can take care of yourself and your little family. But for everybody else in America, we depend on an interrelated healthcare system. And telling 15 million people that they're going to lose access to their health insurance and their health care coverage, and millions more are going to have to make the decision whether to have health insurance or whether to pay the rent, is going to cause our overall health system to get worse for everyone who is not a billionaire. So Democrats are here because we are fighting back. We show up at the hard fights and we fight for the American people. That's what this shutdown has been about. That's what today is all about. Because Democrats believe that health care should not be reserved just for rich people. Democrats believe that nobody should go bankrupt over a bad medical diagnosis. And Democrats believe that it is our solemn obligation to save access to health care for all people in this country. So I just want to say one more time, thank you to all of you for the work you do every single day. And thank you for coming here today to tell more people about it and get more people into this fight. And thank you to my colleagues who stay strong in this fight. Democrats are showing up, and we are here to fight for the American people who just want access to get the care they need. Amen. I'm done. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Are we going to answer any questions?
We doing any questions? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Why don't you guys pay for illegal insurance? What do you say? Okay. Why don't you? We're not paying for illegal insurance, Casey. I thought you all would be doing research about this. Why do people have to keep going over and over and over this stuff? You cannot get, illegal people cannot get medical insurance. There is a law that says they can't get medical insurance. Why do we have to keep saying that? Just because the Republicans say it's true doesn't mean it's true. Illegal aliens cannot get health insurance. Okay? Now I got to put it in the chat again. I got to put the law in the chat again. I don't understand why you all don't do your own research. There's the law that says they can't get illegal medical insurance. That's the law. Did you not hear me when I said the Republicans can release food stamps if they want to? They just don't want to. Okay? There's a kiddie pool specifically formed in July that said if we went to a shutdown, we were to release the funds. Donald Trump called them and told them not to release the funds. Hold on. Let me show you this. Can I show y'all this right here? Hold on. Right here. Hold on. Right here. I don't understand why people got to continue to show folks what they say. You gotta believe. You gotta listen to what they say. You can't just
No. Here's what's happening.
You gotta listen to what they say. That's the one thing you can't just do, right? You gotta listen to what he says, because Donald Trump will tell on himself every time. Every time he will tell on himself. Okay.
No. Here's what's happening on the shutdown, though. Honestly, can I put it in plain words for you? And you're a smart guy, so you'll understand, but a lot of people don't. The Democrats are getting killed on the shutdown because we're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that
We're closing programs that are Democratic programs. Listen to the man.
were opposed to. So we're being able, and they're never going to come back in many cases. So we're being able to do things that we were unable to do before. So we're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we wanted to close up or that we never wanted to happen, and now we're closing them up.
That's the whole point. The whole point is they don't want to open up the government. They don't want to give people food stamps. They don't want to do it. They're trying to close out the food stamps and the medical. They're trying to turn the medical. They're trying to close off the medical. What part of that don't people get? They don't want the medical to come back. That's why they're holding out, because they cut it in the big, beautiful bill and they want to keep it cut. The Democrats are fighting for it to come back. Okay. When the hell is medical insurance corrupt, Casey? Get into the game, zombie. What the hell are you talking about? Get into the game. Oh, shit. You one of them. Okay. I'm done talking to zombies. This is where we're at. We're right here with the big, beautiful bill. Oh, I forgot. Somebody in the chat, please put what they did for the people who make 30,000 to 150,000. What did they do in the big, beautiful bill? Did they put anything in the big, beautiful bill for you poor zombies? Did you put anything into the big, beautiful bill for people who made 30 to 150K? Okay. This is what I'd like to know. Please put it in the chat. I'd love to know what he did for people making 30 to 150K in the big, beautiful bill. Okay. Okay. That's my whole point. Apparently, they don't understand how important insurance is. They don't understand the whole thing. The Republicans don't want you all to have insurance. They want you to starve. They want you to get out there and not have insurance. Why did you think? See, here's the part I don't get. How did poor people, how did poor people give a rich man their money to give to rich people? How did poor people give a rich man their money to give to other rich men? I just don't understand it. What in the hell are you talking about, Mud Happy Mama? What are you talking about? Hey, y'all, just admit that you fucked up. That's all y'all got to do, is admit that y'all made a mistake by voting for this person right here. Just admit that you voted for the person that took your money away and gave it to a rich person. Just admit that. I would be happy if y'all just admitted that. Okay? Yes, I read the bill from top to bottom, and I don't see anything that they have done for somebody who makes 30 to 150,000. Okay? We really have to figure this out. We really need to get rid of the Republicans. They don't know how to govern. They can't get the bill passed. They don't know how to do what they need to do. They're trying to hurt the American people. So here's the thing. We got to get rid of them. It is what it is. They need to be voted out of office. In 2026, hopefully that's the direction we're going in, which we are. because there's been nothing done for the middle class since this president has been in office. He has done nothing for the middle class since he's been in office. As long as he's done nothing for the middle class since he's been in office, and he's only screwed over the middle class, I can't get behind this president, not at all. There's nothing to get behind the president. Okay. No, by hurting the American people. Why would you give your money to the richest men when they have money? The only thing I can think is that you're a zombie, and you zombied your way all the way through it, because no human being would give a rich person their money so that rich person would give their money to another rich person. Somebody that is completely and utterly under the spell would do that. Only a person that would be under the spell of another human being would they do something like that. So I'm saying you got to get out of the spell. Unfortunately, Donnell Hall, that's not the case. Okay. Trump already said he's not running for 2028. So we're not going to believe you. So stop saying that. And the Democrats are not losing. The Republicans are being blamed for this shutdown. It just is what it is. It is what it is. We got to live with it. We got to live with this president until they impeach him. We got to live with this president until next year, 2026, that he will be effectively neutered from doing anything that he wants to do. He hasn't pulled anything out of his pocket to help middle class folks. So since he's not willing to help middle class folks, I'm not willing to stand by him as a person that would support him. You do know they give him power to oppose it. You do know they give him power. What? Mm-mm. It is what it is. We there's nothing we can do. We got to put up with this president until then. Okay. Well then, sorry for you, Adrian Kennedy. Sorry for you. You got with the losing party. Specifically, you really got with the losing winner. Because this is a shitty, terrible human being. This is what this is. A shitty, terrible human being. And it is what it is. So, we got to live with it. We had to live with it. You all voted him in. So now we got to live with that. We got to live with this shitty human being that we have to live with. You all hit the like button, save button, subscribe button, do all those good things. Subscribe, save, share, like, do all of those things. We will be back this evening. At 10 o'clock to talk about the illegal activity that is going on in the Caribbean. Sure I don't, Horatio. Sure I don't. I don't know jack shit. All I know is that you haven't put in the chat anything that this president has done for you. I know you haven't put anything in the chat that this president has done for you. Specifically, if you make between 30 and 150K. I know you haven't put anything in the chat regarding that. So you have nothing to say and nothing to stand on. As soon as you put stuff in the chat that he's done for the middle class, any of y'all put anything in the chat that he's done for the middle class, then I'll take a look at it. I'll look at it again. Maybe I'll have a different take. But for now, this president hasn't done anything to help the middle class. Yes, I'm a zombie too, HQ. HQ is a zombie. Yes. See, here's the difference between me and you, Jesus. I refuse to stay a zombie. You like being a zombie. I'll be back at 10 o'clock to talk about the illegal murdering of human beings in the Caribbean. I'll be back. Hit the like button, subscribe button, share button.